Okay. I'm going to call to order the City of Brisbane Public Art Advisory Committee. And we're going to do a roll call. Who does roll call?
You want to do it? Andrew usually does it.
So we have no requests for roll call item A. Let's do the roll call here. Chair Greenlee,
Here.
Vice Chair Salmon. Here. Mayor Davis is absent. Councilmember Cunningham. Here. Park and Rec Commissioner Silo
Ooh, here.
and Committee Member Glassman. Here. Committee Member Kelstead is absent.
Okay, moving on, we have the approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I have actually
Oh,
a
sorry.
correction. On the second page, under item D, the figure is $1.85.
Oh, no, are you talking about?
Oh, you're on the minutes. Oh,
You're on
I'm
minutes.
sorry, I'm on minutes. Sorry, that's okay. Sorry.
You have me
I
confused.
move
mind.
that we approve
Back
the
up.
agenda.
Sorry,
Okay.
I'll second the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay, we'll get
We
there.
got there. Don't
We'll
worry.
do a roll call vote. Chair Greenlee,
Aye.
Vice Chair Salmon.
Aye.
Mayor Davis is absent. Councilmember Cunningham. Park and Rec Commissioners.
Aye.
Committee Member Glassman.
Aye.
Committee Member Kelstead is
Mine was just like that.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Now to minutes. Diane. Okay. The figure on the second page, under item D. Staff provided the report showing $1.85 available. I'm assuming that's not the figure.
Man, what happened?
Million,
That's
yes.
what I thought.
Thank you for the correction.
Okay.
We water the lawn.
Yeah, we could be done.
Good spot.
Good. Yeah.
I move that we approve the minutes with the correction as noted.
Second.
roll call vote. Chair Greenlee,
Aye.
Vice Chair Salmon.
Aye.
Mayor Davis is absent. Councilmember Cunningham. Park and Rec Commissioner Silo,
Aye.
Committee Member Glassman. Committee Member Kelstead is absent.
Okay, presentation discussion items. Review of AB 2449. Ways members of a legislative body may participate in meetings.
So this came up at our last meeting. There were some kind of questions around attendance for committee members and the desire to review the guidelines from AB 2449. So we actually have the expert in the room today, Ingrid. I don't know if Angel gave you a heads up that you'd be doing this today. But we figured we would walk you through just to give everybody a refresher. I know it's been updated. There's been a few iterations of it over the last year or so. Less than a year, probably.
Yeah.
Go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so I mean, we've just added a couple more FAQs on this document because a lot of people had a lot of like follow-up questions and we wanted, okay, let's just put everything in the document here so we're all on the same page. So this is Assembly Bill 2449 regarding ways members of a legislative body can participate in meetings. So just to review, in a nutshell, there are these ways to participate. One being you attend in person here at City Hall. Second is you could choose to be absent and have a no-show. We have a attendance policy with our committee and commissions policy from resolution number 2013-12.
Wait, can I follow up on that?
Yes,
Absent, no show, how many of those do you get a year?
I think it depends. So I can forward and we could look at the commission policy from that resolution.
Okay, I thought it was like, not many.
It depends on the legislative body, so it's
Okay.
different for Park and Rec Commission than it is
Oh,
for
okay.
this group.
Got it, okay.
And one of the new ways to attend virtually is this option to do under the just cause provision. And this is the one where you can have twice a year,
Oh,
calendar
that's it.
year.
That's it, that's the twice a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is the just cause with childcare or caregiving of a child, parent, grandchild, grandparent, sibling, spouse, or domestic partner, a contagious illness, a need related to physical or mental disability, or travel on business of the local agency. So if you're only for City of Brisbane.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And usually folks go about this by notifying, in this case, it'll be Angel and Maureen. And just provide like a general description of why you'll need to do just cause provisions. And it's good too if you send it and copy myself, just so just in case people miss it, like right now Angel's on vacation, so it'd be good to have multiple people just notified.
Do we need a doctor's note?
No, that's just no.
And just to add to that, at CCAG, City and Council of Associated Governments, because people like me to say what the acronym is.
Yeah.
They're still working on changing it.
Okay.
So it's not a done deal. It's a done deal for now to make things easier. I mean, we profess sustainability. We profess that we are trying to reduce vehicle miles traveled. We profess that we are trying to stop single occupancy vehicles, but here we are making people get in their cars and drive in single occupancy vehicles to Woodside to meetings and back. So it is still being really worked on very, very hard. And I'll give anybody a badge who wants one.
And also, taking into consideration that people like me on this committee have jobs and sometimes have to travel for work.
Yeah.
But that's not a consideration, seems a bit,
I think we're
Strange,
closer at it from the state level
Okay.
to allowing that. If you have prior notice and you can properly notice whatever that really means.
Mhm.
And then if you're in a hotel lobby, you just have to have a card somewhere. So anybody who might be in
Mhm.
Louisiana might show up.
I did that before, but I think the rules changed
They did.
during COVID, yeah.
They did, and then they changed again, and they're going to change some
Okay.
more because this is not acceptable.
Okay,
Yeah, so our legal counsel have been, they will keep us notified if there's any changes or ways for us to advocate more. But as of this is like our current interpretation of the Assembly bill.
not that I mind being here, I think it's great for us. all.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
But there are times that may prevent you from.
well,
Exactly.
and it'd be nice if we could all be at meetings when we're not here.
Yeah. Continue
Right, right.
business.
Yeah.
Even if we're just listening, I mean, I guess
Mhm.
we're allowed to do that anyways. If we're traveling
Mhm.
and we're not in the meeting, we can still phone in and listen, right?
Mhm.
Keep up to date. Okay.
The other one is the emergency provision, and this is unlimited, but this has to be a true emergency. We email the request to the chair, city clerk, and the staff lead. In this case, though, as you can see, like from the agenda today, it has to be approved the day of the meeting through the agenda.
Mhm.
And this is like a physical or family medical emergency. And in this case, in terms of privacy, you just kind of give a general description. You don't have to provide too many details regarding the medical situation. And this is the one that is kind of the ways that we were able to do teleconferencing prior to the pandemic. People could attend the meeting by teleconferencing, meaning you could turn on, you could log on through Zoom, but no video. You could only listen. So it's just this weird old school policy from the Brown Act. And the way to go about this is you have, like, let's say, your conference ahead of time, Angel will notice notice the location of where you'll be taking the meeting from, hotel room, hotel lobby, whatever.
That's kind of what you did before.
I was actually in my office
Mm.
and I just put it on the door of the
Yeah.
office.
Yeah, and then you have to like
Whatever.
post.
Yeah.
And then you have to post the actual
Agenda.
agenda on the door. Diane?
Yeah, this is just for my own clarification. But what happens if you? Like, it doesn't seem like there are any provisions for someone who has mobility issues or mental health issues that preclude being somewhere in attendance, like in person. That's just that's just like for me, because I'm just looking at this and going, you know, that the way it's written. And I know this says nothing, you know, this
Right,
is
right.
me kind of like
Like you
looking at
mean the
that and
person in
going,
attendance or the person who want to attend?
the person who
person-
wants to
The
attend,
committee member who wants to
who
attend.
has, you know, I'm thinking mental health issues like agoraphobia. Or mobility issues such as, you know, some kind of physical disability. That there's no allowance for that being an ongoing.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, I'm
That's-
just,
That is very.
I'm just,
If you knew some of the people that we're dealing with in some of the rural counties in California trying to get this done, they're not going to pay attention to anything you just said.
Mhm.
That's really sad, but that's why
but
we.
it would affect them.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I'm
They don't.
you can tell who my spouse is.
Yeah, so that's why this thing is, it's actually really good.
Yeah.
Because it's made people wake up to these kind of comments.
Because that's such a big thing in the writing and artist community, is like making sure that everything is accessible to everyone.
Everybody is allowed
Yep.
to.
Otherwise, you're creating barriers to
Mm-hmm.
inclusion.
Mhm, absolutely.
Yep.
Agreed. And working people, I mean, just plain working people. who have to
Yeah,
work
well,
the
that,
job.
yeah.
I mean, they do make an exception for people taking care of people, like parents, which I think is good, but you're right, anyone, maybe somebody's vision impaired and they can't drive, you know, I mean,
I think not making it is mental illness because I stress out because I can't be here. So I think that applies.
But I'm not saying mental illness, I'm just saying mental health
Not for
issues.
me.
Yeah.
I get it. I think it's a great topic. But thanks for clarifying that. That affects the whole state.
It's
interesting. I didn't know.
working. It's working its way through so many different places, but the CCAG board are very aggressively pursuing this because this is an arcane
Mhm.
situation. And it is exclusive.
Hmm,
You have to be a healthy person
Mhm.
and you have
Well,
to do what we're telling
you
you.
can be
to do.
healthy, you can just be disabled,
Able-bodied.
able-bodied, yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And so Angel has like a little spreadsheet she keeps track of, and so, you know, I guess the main thing to point out is just if you know that there's going to be a conflict, it is possible to attend via teleconferencing. Noting that you have to post the location of where you'll be. So for example, there's even that for the FAQs, there's even an example of like a person posting it on their cooler at the
Oh, at
beach or
the
something. So like things like that.
Yeah, so how far in advance? Because I had told Angel when we were on the cruise, that I was going to be on the cruise and I would post the agenda on the door of the cabin.
Mhm.
And then
That's all.
I got bumped out of, like, something came through where it's like, I was gonna be absent. I went, oh, okay. I thought I had done what I needed to do.
Yeah, did you have internet?
It was limited, but I was willing to give it a try.
I remember that.
Maybe she may have tried. I remember something
And
about
things
this.
changed at an
Yeah.
odd time.
There was
Okay.
things that I kind of remember this whole thing
Yeah.
about it being on the door, but not coming in.
Well, that was the
She
conversation.
usually posts like
But it
72
was-
hours before the meeting, I think, like the Friday before your meeting.
Yeah.
But I had contacted her before that.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
remember the day of
Yeah.
something that
Okay.
happened.
No
But
worries.
Yes,
in my
I remember
memory,
that.
going.
I've not attended a couple of meetings in
Just to
protest
be
and I told
clear.
them it was in protest and why. For example, one of the nights, there was a CCAG meeting that was one of those horrible storms in
Mhm.
December.
Mhm.
And we kept getting these alerts saying, stay off
Get on
the road. Stay
Mhm.
off the road unless it's urgent. And I said to them, can I call in? And they
Mhm.
said, no, you have to come. And I
No.
said, I will not
I
be
know.
coming in protest. I'm not putting my life in
Yeah.
danger. I'm not putting your first responders' lives in
Yeah.
danger and creating a hassle on the road.
Yeah.
Sorry, in protest, I am not coming. So
Well, there you go.
I've been doing that.
Mhm.
Well, the other thing to note here for the FAQs, number 2, what happens if there's technical difficulties
Yeah.
during the legislative body's meetings? So as long as there's interactive audio, so as long as your Zoom doesn't go kaput, you're still able to and then for things like Park and Rec with the broadcasting,
Mhm.
even if the broadcasting fails, cable and the streaming fails, as long as there's Zoom and there's an opportunity for members of the public to come to hear the audio, it's still, you're
You
still
can
able to
continue,
continue.
yeah,
Yeah, I've been on Zoom in many meetings where it didn't work.
Yeah.
Or somebody didn't pick up and I was left out of the meeting for significant amounts of time. So that happens. Yeah. Zoom was, COVID years were fun for committees.
Let's see, and as long as also like if your location is not gonna be in the conference room or at City Hall, you just have to notice it accordingly. Or start here and then have your meeting, continue your meeting on the second location. And then also just to note, like if you have a medical exception for the AB 2449 provision. Or just cause or for the emergency, you don't have to go into detail for that, for your privacy. Yeah, so you don't just have a 20-word explanation saying like, I am ill and my doctor has advised me not to leave the house until I'm better, you know, things like that. Nothing too detailed.
Okay.
any other questions for Ingrid on that? Or it'll come up again with more revision.
Calendar, you're
Hopefully favorable revision.
Ongoing.
Will we be updated when changes happen?
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to discussion item D, discuss relocation of the flood preserve.
Yes, so there's a memo included in your packet. I'm sure most of you have heard about the plugs being removed from the lot adjacent to Julie's Deli. So I think there may be a public misconception that that was city land, and it's not. It's actually privately owned, and the owners have been gracious enough to allow the plugs to exist there for quite some time now. And so they've made the decision to reclaim that land and are willing to kind of work with the city to figure out relocation options for the plugs. So Angel included a map of city-owned parcels in here just for reference, but I know some ideas have already been thrown out about where they could potentially go. We do have some already in the community park behind the restrooms. So there's some that live back there currently. I'm sure we could identify space out there for more. Somebody threw out Firth Park at one point. Somebody talked about Old County Road along the curve in front of the skate park, half or quarter pipe along that wall where we were going to do a mural at some point, or along Park Lane outside the basketball court fence. Somebody said dog park. We have one already on the dog park.
That's gotta be.
Yeah. Crocker Trail, Old County Road. So, I mean, there's certainly lots of opportunity spaces. But the committee at this point is kind of tasked with having that conversation and then making some recommendations about how we want to relocate those.
I first want to say that I think it's great. The Federated Women's Club started this in
I noticed that.
Six.
That's
Did you-
rad.
wasn't that?
Great.
Yes.
I had
Remember
no
in
idea.
76 when we all went out and painted? I was 12.
You were,
We all went out and painted.
I was
painted-
pregnant. I didn't do that.
I painted a fire
No.
plug in 77.
I think I
That's
just moved
awesome.
here. and
Had
I
a little
just
eagle on it.
Oh, so
Oh,
cool.
was it? Do you have a picture of it?
Yeah, I do. It's.
Oh, that's so
Okay, I will
cool.
share me in shorts with my paintbrush
Oh, my gosh.
in Houston, Texas.
Oh,
Cute.
I love that.
I have just to kind of say general about it, I think it's great that we can find places. I also think because it was so wonderfully central where people could go and sit and kind of enjoy them, or the fact that the way that you hear the community speak about it, that when we talk about this, it should be places that are relatively easy to be able to view them and experience them and just have it be a part, as opposed to somewhere that it may cause
Yeah.
them to walk like
Mhm.
way down the Bay Trail. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I'm just saying I think we should consider what the intent of it when they did it and how people
Yeah.
have felt about it. I may be wrong, but
How many are there that were there? How many are we looking at?
I
Five?
think there was about 8 or
Eight?
9.
Okay.
Mhm.
It was just cool to see them all just
All there
there.
together.
all
too.
together, yeah.
People from outside of California know about it.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
There's a website called Weird California and
Yeah.
that
It's
flood
there.
preserve is on it.
It should be, it should be relatively visible when you come to town.
Yeah.
And the place, when you make the curve coming into town, not in front of the park, the
Right on
skateboard
that-
park,
right on
but
that
right
curve.
on that corner, not
Where
on
there's
the
a gigantic
park
wall
side.
that just screaming for a mural. Yeah.
Not on the park side, the other side, the curves.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that private property?
yeah, that's private. property.
Cause that's like dying to have something.
But I
They
think,
might let us do it. I don't know.
but I think what was great about where it was before was that it was more of a pedestrian walk
Mhm.
that people were really could interact with. And I kind of like that. I'm not, now, we talk also about, I think we need to talk about our park space because as park and rec people, I kind of feel like, do we want to take up park space with plugs or do they need their own? Like, it's just something to
I
consider.
think there are some places like within the community park that don't have a lot of usage. I don't say use because everything's used,
Behind the
but they don't
bathroom.
have a lot of usage. And I know that there are plans to put trees back where the old holiday tree was. But that piece of land right there, it can be used, I think, for the plugs and for the tree.
I kind of like that.
And that's still a nice central location. And it seems as if, it's already kind of got the same shape as what the plug preserve looked like too, because it's got the tan bark down. And the other place that I could see within the community park is behind the gazebo around the flagpoles. Because that's not really an area
That's cool.
where kids play. And it's not really an area that we use for things like concerts in the park or the day in the park. So it's kind of that space that kind of faces Old Country Road.
Which side
Yeah,
of the
right,
fence?
which is the opposite side of the other side.
Yeah, the opposite
Right.
side of what you're talking
What-
about.
yeah.
So which side of the fence?
On the
Yeah,
curve,
yeah, yeah.
on the
On
curve.
the inside.
On the curve.
Inside.
Still
But
within
I
the
like it,
park.
but I like it around the
Just like where things are that
What was
that?
aren't high traffic areas.
Well, I also think if I'm not mistaken, there were places to sit or have a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Which the fact, whatever that is, but the fact that you create something that is it makes it a little more interactive or community based.
We
So
could put a bench
that's what I'm saying.
beside them.
I know. We could. No, I, that's what I'm saying. So I think when we're thinking of these things, we should maybe want to also consider not only just being able to walk by them, but be able to kind of have them invite you into a place of a space, to invite you into the space. And how does that invite you into the space?
That whole placemaking thing.
Whereas my initial idea was completely different. I was thinking to kind of showcase them as little funny art pieces is the First Park sign, where the First Park sign is in brick on the First Park. If we kind of planted them on that hill, like just kind of as a little display area.
Do we
But it's
have
not very-
any others that might be ready to retire or are they all new?
Yeah, I think there's a stash of them at the courtyard.
So we could do many places.
Who knew?
Who knew?
That would be hilarious.
I think we should go look at them.
Well, not only that, but it would be another fun community project.
That's what I
Yes.
mean, yeah.
Yes,
An
it
idea
would.
With First Park.
I kind of like groupings of them.
Yeah.
We have a little group.
Like little gnomes.
Yes,
Yeah.
like we have a little group of.
Heavy
them.
nose.
I don't think we're gonna move the ones that are behind the bathroom. Those
No,
are
I
gonna
think they should
stay
stay there.
stay there. And
Absolutely.
then maybe some by the Christmas tree area.
I'm just thinking it's like we have a splinter group with the parrots and now our fire plugs have gotten big enough that they're splintering into two different plugs, two different blocks.
Well,
We'll have
why not?
Why not? I mean, I could see if you had the First Park sign and we want to redo that, and
Right.
make it a little, and we put like 3 plugs kind of off to the side, kind of looking at the sign. I mean,
Sponsor a retired plug, someone who sponsors it.
sponsor a retirement.
This plug is.
Because you need
Right.
special paint, right?
Yeah.
Oh, if we're gonna repaint them, yeah, that's a big deal.
But that project of once they're there is the project that happens every year anyway.
Yes, that's
Do you see what I'm saying?
That is-
So that's kind of covered in
Yeah,
that area.
that is.
We
I
only
think
have
what
about
we're
85
looking
though.
at is identifying spaces for what we have.
And does that,
I like those.
as the art committee, are we looking at this project as something we would fund? Is that what we're doing? Or we are just kind of the deciding body?
You would bring
Promote.
it to council for funding.
Well, we have.
I think we would
funds.
identify
Yeah.
what the cost associated would be, and then that would go to council.
And the cost would be moving and securing, and if it was, but, okay, so here's the other question about that. So if we decide on a space, for instance, behind the gazebo, other places, and we all want to, and we want to make the place inviting
Mhm.
to be, interactive in a sense of that you feel that you can walk into it, that's a cost. And not only is that cost, that becomes, at least what I think, a design concept.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, you can't just.
You
throw
can't
them
just
in
say,
there.
would you
No.
guys, Public Work, go put out some four stuffs on a bench?
No,
Do you, that's what I mean.
Mhm.
Well, I
So
mean,
that would be
even-
something that we would,
Even around the Christmas tree.
yeah,
lot.
wherever,
I mean,
yeah,
right,
yeah, we
wherever.
have to be strategic for
Right.
the recess, wherever.
Right.
And
So,
we have money.
What's the plan for the
Right.
tree area?
Trees have been ordered, right?
Is there like a little
I believe
schematic?
so. Public Works is handling that, but they've identified a species and a source, and the goal is.
so
to have-
nothing should be there until the tree, because you
Yeah.
don't wanna,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
don't wanna
affect-
mess it,
you don't
but
wanna
It is a great
assume.
spot. It is a great.
Well,
spot.
and
Because
did you see
people
the
walk-
size of the hole
Right.
they dug for the last
that's what I'm
one?
saying, yeah, you don't wanna
It's
assume.
gonna consume most of that space, but there's an adjacent landscaped area that exists
goes
there,
behind
what you
it.
mentioned with the tan bark,
Yes.
that you could place plugs
Right.
there as
Yeah.
well.
I kind
would
of
be
like, I
really-
kind of like the skateboard park and the basketball park. I just think it would get kind of lost in that in that kind of a busy rec area. I kind of like the idea of people walking by them and or sitting.
I'm almost, if they were over by the skateboard park, it'd be more, they'd become like peepholes for dogs.
Yeah.
More likely than in another location.
Also, there's also, and I may be wrong, but there's an interaction going on there already. What I noticed with where they were before, the interaction that was happening there was more of a sitting or an enjoying or a
Mhm.
conversation that space allowed to
Yeah,
happen.
there was
And so-
created an
Yeah,
interaction.
so
with
if
the
we want to
hydrants.
continue with that idea,
Mhm.
then we would look for spaces that were easier for people to get to. And I agree, behind the, I'm sorry, I don't
That's
know
okay.
what that is. Behind the bathrooms in the park, I kind of love them hidden in there. They're
Mhm.
just, I think they should stay there.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
just kind of like surprise and they're wonderful to see.
Yeah.
And it could be many places.
Another opportunity in terms of activating a space for
Yes.
hydrants could be Quarry Park at the entrance to Quarry Trail.
Mm.
Because you can
Oh, that
create a
little
seating
park in
area
there, too.
below the community garden.
So I guess the thing
Oh,
is,
that's.
could
a
we
good
do it all?
idea. That's a
We
good-
could do it all.
Do we,
Mhm.
I guess the question is,
We're
then,
quirky enough,
if we
right?
would consider the Quarry Park, the place behind the, where the tree would be, Firth Park,
I don't know.
and behind the gazebo.
I don't know how many we have, but those are all very good.
That would be
You should
4
find out.
places.
I will
Yeah.
group up with Public
Maybe-
Works to identify how many
Be fun to
hydrants they
have
have.
like 3.
Right, and then I think
They're kind of like a little.
we would need to, I think it would be good to have one person, somehow in charge of the designing of the places where there's what goes there with them.
Mhm.
Mm.
If we're gonna do this, then why don't we do it?
A landscape person.
Is
Yeah,
there
it was,
somebody?
why don't we
is
do it
there
in a way
somebody
that's,
Is there somebody in town who, I mean, it's easy enough to draw up a design,
I know, but we should make sure that it's a public
It's a-
announcement. That's my
Exactly.
point. My
Maybe-
point is, I'm not
maybe it's-
saying we
yes.
have to go to New York to find. it.
Yes, exactly.
I'm saying as a committee, we should. if we
Identify
decide
what
to
you
do
want.
That, to
Yes, identify
identify
what you want.
and
and then-
offer the opportunity.
I really like that idea. Yes. Because I don't want them just like plunked. I'd
Yeah.
like to have the area
Yeah.
around them made
Absolutely.
nice and maybe a bench or.
Yeah.
you know,
First
I think you
low-hanging
know
fruit.
somebody who does that, right? Well,
No, he doesn't really do
he
hardscape.
doesn't,
No.
No hearts.
but does he know hardscape people? I don't know any hardscape
But
people, do you guys?
If we just put, if we could
Oh,
put
yeah,
something
we
in
can-
words
there are-
together,
there
then
are
we can have
hardscape,
people
correct.
apply for this.
Yes.
Yeah,
We never
exactly.
know who in town might do that or doesn't do that or has an interest in that, who in the area does, who's a young artist who's in design and landscape and space creations.
Yeah,
I mean, we have young kids now. I was talking to them just the other day who are now going into, college and out of college with what they're calling architectural design community space.
and there's environmental design, which
That's
is
what I mean, yeah.
is a
So-
design.
This might be a great opportunity. That's
Right.
all I'm saying.
No, I think that's great. We write up some kind of little description of the job and
Mhm.
and
A
put it out
fun,
there.
inexpensive project.
Yeah,
The first
but I
low-hanging-
think,
Sorry.
Low-hanging fruit.
taking our place and
Mhm.
placemaking rather than.
So can we find out how many they are?
Yep, I will.
And then we can start getting wording together for what we would send out?
Yes.
Does that
I'd
seem
actually,
about
I'd
reasonable?
actually like to, I like your idea of sponsoring, but I also like the idea of sprucing them up before they get installed.
Well, that's the sponsoring part.
Yeah, maybe we get sponsors on, and then they hire artists to spruce them up, to actually do them.
Oh, no, I thought they would give the money and whoever's in charge would end up, because they're gonna have to kind of help design that space, no?
Oh, no, I'm just talking about the plugs themselves.
Oh, I see.
The plugs themselves are probably kind of in ratty
Oh, yeah.
condition and they need to be scrubbed down and repainted. Just the design that's there already.
Right.
Just preserving the design, but just
Right.
freshening up the colors.
Okay.
So are you talking about having people do that or having people provide sponsorship or funding for that to be done?
Well, see, funding is kind of funny, because we have a budget.
Right.
You know, we could hire people-
An artist.
an artist.
But
to-
don't our,
But we
don't our citizens love?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, thinking
Develop-
about
my
point. My point is, isn't that already that project?
No, I.
There's a lot of
totally-
demand, right?
Yeah.
I totally get that, and I think that's fine. I was just wondering how it works. I don't know if we spend this money or if we.
I thought
we
the
put it
Park and
out
Rec
there.
had that project, and that was what was so fun, is that.
We do,
absolutely,
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be taken care of.
Park and Rec are
We'd
arts.
have to get, we'd have to get people to volunteer for that.
Do you ever have a problem having people redo the? No.
No, but, no, let me
Some
tell you,
years it is.
let me tell you, as someone who participates in this
Wow.
a lot,
Mhm.
I think there's a level of expertise
Yes.
of different people's artistic abilities to do this, and I would like to have it a little better level than just your, than just your mom.
Finger painting.
Yes,
Yes.
kindergartner.
Okay,
Yeah,
So we're proposing sponsorship of the rehabbing of the plugs.
maybe a little plaque that goes with it.
And what we're asking for is to get basically the number of plugs that are available. We've determined that there are about 3 or 4 different places around the town. So we're talking about little clusters. And then we're talking about sponsorship for rehabbing.
Rehabbing, yeah.
Okay.
And can I ask,
Good recap.
can I add one more
Great.
thing that hasn't come to mind yet, and that is, can we number them? And I would be happy personally to pay for little bronze numbers, and you're going, why do you want to number them? The little number on the back.
so people can walk and find them.
So, well, not only that, but getting back to situations where, and this came up in the cafe interviews. Numbering benches around town, so if somebody gets lost, they can say, oh, I'm confused, I'm sitting at bench 4.
Oh.
And then, so if we have,
Good.
so if we have numbers on these guys and somebody gets lost, they can say, I'm sitting by the plug number 6.
Well,
Or
also,
maybe it's 9.
or also, or also.
Camille's
if
upside
you-
down
if you
lost.
Sponsor, if you sponsor,
Put a line down.
Line underneath the 6.
if you're, if you're sponsored, if you sponsored a plug, you should have a little plaque on them.
Hmm.
Little
Because we're
permanent-
big on those too.
Yeah, we are.
Too.
Gotta have a little.
Put a name on it.
I mean, I just, this weekend when I was away, seeing all of these benches all over the places, and each one of them had a story on it.
Yeah, that's-
Either, sponsored by, John and Mary, or in memory of blah, 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 who fished here from the 1800s, blah, blah.
Mm.
I mean, everywhere I went, there was a little piece of history on these places, and it was more interested.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of storing it.
But I do
Okay.
agree that we should not just focus on the plugs, but the little environment that
Well,
they're
that's-
going to create, which needs design. to-
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna get wording on. Can you help us with that, Noreen?
Yes.
The wording on how we would put that out to the public.
Mhm.
And it was lovely
And
to see,
send it out.
sorry,
I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
it was lovely to see Firth Park starting to get rehabbed.
Yeah,
last week.
yeah, we did a tour of that in our park and rec thing, and it's got a lot of potential. We're
Yeah, it
really
does.
excited about that.
Cool. Well, that wasn't that hard.
Okay, so we'll bring this back to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Yay, thank
Yes.
you. Okay, next is item E, update on the public arts master plan, RFP.
Yeah, just a quick update. So we published the RFP after council gave their thumbs up. I sent it out to more than 50 prospective consultants. I was able to get the list that South City used. And just through kind of all the art organizations online. We have it posted on our city website. Had quite a few people express interest, ask questions. So I'm hopeful that we'll get a good crop of proposals for the committee to review. The deadline for submissions is July 14th. So
Coming up.
we will, the meeting following that with the committee, we will bring those proposals before you and have that on the agenda, and then the committee can decide whether you want to conduct interviews with a select list of shortlisted firms, or if you just want to choose based on the proposals that are received. Like I said, we expect that will come back to you guys in September, August, and we tentatively said that we would go to council in October. We will award a contract. So that's the kind of overview of the timeline. I will keep you all informed as the process moves on, but those are kind of the key dates that we're looking at as part of the process.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. The little projects that we've been bouncing around, our bench projects, our rehab of Firth Park sculpture projects, our little low hanging fruit projects.
Mhm.
Those all kind of have to wait until this person gets.
No, not at
No,
all.
Not at all.
Mm-mm. So if we want to pursue one of those, we can put it on the agenda for an upcoming meeting and then kind of dive into what those
I think,
processes will look like for each of those projects.
yeah, I
Well,
think
we're
we
here with
should.
the park. Let's do the plugs.
Let's do the plugs.
Yeah, let's start with the
That's
plugs.
easy.
All right, let's start with the
Let's
plugs.
not,
Well, I mean, there might be an opportunity for some of the smaller things to have them be worked on
Right, same time.
simultaneously.
That's true.
So if you want to put that on the agenda for the next meeting. we can do that.
I would like to start talking about the Firth Park sculptures because they've waited a really long time to get rehabbed.
Yeah, that little helix.
Yeah,
that
the
was
helix
very
and the-
sad,
and
and then
the-
the little,
I
the turtle.
know, The
Yeah, the
helix
turtle.
and the turtle.
It needs it. Town would love to see that too.
Yeah.
Full recovery.
It's just a beautiful little.
It is.
And after what happened to Firth Park and how it's looking so much better.
okay, yeah.
Okay,
And the
Thanks.
trees being removed, that hurt, I mean, my kids were really upset. So the plugs around the trees is gonna add a little bit of love back to there.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, and maybe just make that more of a destination with a bench and whatever. You know, that'd be
Cool.
So, fun story, my son fell asleep on the bench in Firth Park when he was 3 and fell off into the grass and stayed asleep.
I
I
actually, when we toured Firth Park recently. This is kind of a tangent. I was looking at the park and I think the reason I was always kind of frightened of that park was because of the road, Glen Park, it's Glen Park, right? That comes zooming, people that come zooming down there and there's no barrier between the lawn and the road. And I thought if we could do kind of an artistic fence, a low something that maybe was cut metal, something that was really beautiful to look at, but also created a barrier for that grassy area so that kids would be safe if they did want to toddle around there.
That
Yeah.
goes into several areas, then that fits complete streets. That fits public art and that fits
Park and rec.
park and rec, and that also fits public works and safety.
Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
think safety was my main concern, but then I was thinking we could make this really attractive, just a
How about some
low.
big boulders?
That they can climb on and fall in while the boat's coming down.
And also
The mountain may deliver. it
And
to them
also, as
themselves.
much as I love that sign area that says Firth Park that you can't read anymore,
Yeah.
that's kind of a cliff that a toddler could fall off also. So just making that space a little safer for little kids to play. It's a great space. It's got the
Great
turtle,
space.
you know,
It
but
is a
it just
great
needs a little, I think artistically, we could do some.
Well, let's put that on the agenda next time
Yeah.
to discuss
Yep.
Okay,
Firth Park and
Yep.
see how we want to, if we want public art, and there's a lower thing and
Yeah.
safety and.
And everybody loves it.
and if everybody here, I mean, we've already done it, but if everybody here could visit
Yeah.
Firth Park and just look at the space and see what you think.
The
Well,
signage,
you've
the
added
signage
new-
is a great opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it is a beautiful space. And the
Just
trees
call Mr.
that are
Goldsworthy.
there are very beautiful.
I want that.
Don't you want?
I
would you
want
just
I
call
want
him up and
I want a
say, you know,
Goldsworthy right
yes,
there.
Could you just?
Honestly-
Of our park, please?
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
Honestly, a
No.
big
no problem.
wonderful piece of art in there would draw
Barrier, we
people
need to
from
do
everywhere.
this. Yes. But that, I mean, when you
Yeah.
start to think about those kind of spaces and what happens, you start to think of, you know, artists who may say, oh my God, this is my canvas.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, when you think that, go back to before we had a basketball court.
Right.
Why did we end up with a basketball court? Because there was a bunch of parents who had kids who wanted to play basketball and we didn't have one. So way back then it was Randy Rumreel, it was the Conways, and a whole bunch of those people threw in a lot of their own time
Mhm.
and a lot of their own money to make that basketball court a reality. My kid was one of the first kids that played on it, so I remember that. These guys wanted it to happen, so they put their money where their mouth was. And instead of just whining that they didn't have something, they made it happen. And I don't know the funding mechanism for the skate park, but can you find that out?
Mhm.
Because I think part of that was, you know, obviously the love of Michael Barnes, who wanted a skate park. We ended up with a skate park. Look at those two things. They have people there for
Yeah.
almost 24 hours.
Constant.
Right, right,
We
right.
came out of a meeting at 11:45 the other night and there were 22 people playing basketball,
Mhm, mhm.
having a great time. So, you know, horses for courses, all different
Yep.
things.
Good
Yeah, it
stuff.
would be good to discuss Firth Park and see what lane we fall in and what other departments of the city fall in and get the information so that we can. move
You know,
forward.
I think if you come up with a plan, then we just divvy it off from there.
Well, you know what, when you talk about Andrew Goldsworthy, there was a
Make
private.
that happen, okay?
There was a private walk, an art walk that I did over, I think at San Ramon. And it was open to the public, but it was private land, and someone had commissioned an Andrew
Yeah.
Goldsworthy in the woods there, it was called the Egg.
Right.
And it was a culvert, where water came out of a big pipe. And he kind of paved it in with beautiful rock work, and then there was a giant granite egg that the water landed on and just,
Oh, wow.
and just.
Where is this?
It's in San Ramon, it's beautiful.
It's on
Oh,
private land, but it's open. Not only do they have Andy Goldberg.
Oh, they have,
They have like,
Yeah.
if you've never, you can take your kids, anybody
It's
there.
amazing.
It's an amazing walk.
I mean, you
It's
walk around a corner and there's a giant metal tree.
Yeah, it's.
You know, that's like
I've never been there, I don't
phenomenal.
know.
100 feet tall.
It's phenomenal.
Wow. okay.
Yeah, and stuff like off in the hill, like a figure running, you know, I mean, it's all,
And it's their
Anyways,
property.
it's private property, but open to the public. Anyways, it's Andrew Goldsworthy. If you have a space that's like a culvert or like a grove or something that's interesting enough for an artist to really play with and make it an environmental piece of work, boy, that's
Yeah.
a big draw.
Right. I mean, you can go see them in the Presidio.
I
Never,
was gonna say.
if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
us. You
Anyway,
never know.
Before we get too off course, we will put that on our agenda
Okay,
for the next
thank you,
meeting.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
We can get
All
it
right,
close.
is there any public comment?
I have a public comment from Michael, our hands raised. From Michael. Hi, Michael, can you hear? Can you unmute? Perfect.
Yep. So you may consider using the fire plugs as bollards along Glen Parkway to protect Firth Park.
Bollards.
Oh,
I mean, it's an idea, but I think they're still too low. That's the only, I
Well,
get what you were saying.
I mean, I
Well, but
think it's something to
if you-
throw into the barrel.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you look at the fence around the skate park, I mean, you're talking about a fence along Glen Park Way, the fence around the skate park gets hammered by cars coming around the turn all the time. It doesn't really
Yeah.
stop cars from entering that area. So,
it's
Yeah.
not really, oh, I'm sorry, but it's not really the cars I'm more worried about. It's more keeping the kids from running into the street,
uh,
you know? So
The little ones.
the little ones. That was always my frightening.
But there has to be a plug at Firth Park.
Oh, yeah, for
Has
sure.
to, at
Yes,
least one, maybe
yes,
more.
you can't leave it lonely.
definitely at Firth Park.
so,
Thanks,
you
Michael.
know, oh, you're welcome, but every once in a while in town, we have a car knock a fire plug off its moorings, and it's a spectacular show. So I'm not sure that fire plugs are too low to protect spaces, and this might actually apply also to Quarry Road or wherever you put fire plugs. You might think of them with this dual use in mind, that's all.
Very cool.
Cool.
Good
Very good.
idea.
Thank
Good
you.
idea. Okay, is there any more public comment?
I see no more raised hands.
Okay, shall we talk about our next meeting?
Yeah, so the next meeting's scheduled for July 17th at 4:30. We received the completed proposal package from phase 3 just yesterday. So we will be sending out the public notices this week to the adjacent businesses and posting on our public notice boards. So we will have them prepared to give a full presentation at the July 17th meeting. We will also, I've heard that there's a desire to resurface the conversation about Firth Park, and we'll bring back more information about the Plug Preserve project. And then I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that agenda.
Nope.
I think that's.
I think that'll
That's a
be
lot.
plenty.
Yeah.
That's- Yeah, I think that's a lot.
Okay, so on that note, at 5:17, I adjourn this meeting.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Quite clear.